the sheep we manage very similarly than we do the cattle. I mean, they are ruminants, and they eat a lot of the same forages. That said, their specialty is really a middle ground between, you know, a cattle's preferences and a goat's preference. You know, goats on one side are true foragers. You know, they're eating the trees and the shrubs and the brush, even leaves that have, you know, fallen and have since decayed. You know, they prefer that sort of forage, whereas cows, they really like that leafy forage. They'll eat trees and shrubs and brush, but they're going to go for the leafy, vegetative, grass forbs type forage before they do anything else. Sheep, as I'm saying, exist in this beautiful middle ground where they do like true grass forage, but they also occupy the goat side of the world, where they're eating the shrubs and things of that nature. And so we use them very effectively as brush cleaners in the pastured ecosystem behind the cows or with the cows, depending on the particular context of that year. But we run about 3 sheep for every cow. And so we have about 30 sheep at this time, about 100 cows. And so we move the cows once a day, we move the sheep 3 times a day. And so you can see that 1-to-3 or 3-to-1 ratio. The sheep, these particular sheep, are not the most healthy animals on the farm, unfortunately. We acquired a flock of sheep that were supposed to be a little bit more healthy than they were. But we're kind of decently interested in the test to see if poor genetics can improve with management. And so by using the mineral system, by utilizing very intensive management techniques, moving them 3 times a day, that sort of stuff, and by really trying to wild their internal and external biomes and hormone systems in terms of instinct, that's what I mean by that. It's interesting to see if we can actually create a flock of supremely healthy but genetically poor sheep that does well, exists happily, but also tastes very well in the end. In addition, we don't know. I don't know. We'll see if it works. These sheep are hair sheep. It's a mix of St. Croix and Katahdins. There's a little Dorper mixed into a couple of them due to the ram. The majority of what we're trying to dominate our sheep flock with St. Croix. We like the St. Croix. They're a little bit less meaty, a little bit more bony than the Katahdins. But they have great meat. They're more parasite resistance in their genetics. They have more parasite resistance. So far, we're not seeing that. So far, all of our sheep are exhibiting the same lack of health, and it doesn't seem to matter between breeds, but we'll have to see in the long run of this massive case study. The sheep system on our farm really it's a test on challenging the ethics of immediate calling of sick animals. In nature, when forage is lacking or disease spreads, animals that are weaker, they have genetic weaknesses, maybe epigenetic weaknesses. Epigenetics is really the way genes are expressed given external environmental factors. But it's basically the way our DNA is expressed. Epigenetics, and then genetics is DNA. And in nature, animals that are weaker genetically or epigenetically are called in times of pandemic and in times of drought, things like that. The weaker animals are going to be the ones that get predated on. So calling exists in nature, but if the reason that your animals in a farmed ecosystem, your domesticated livestock, need calling is because of a lack of proper or holistic management, then simply killing a sheep because you failed shouldn't really maybe be the ethical solution. And so what we're trying to do with these sheep is take about 50 ewes that don't come from good genetic lines or have good epigenetics due to mismanagement of their past, and see if by management that's holistic, that's regenerative in its focus, but also very intent on a healthy expression of their epigenetics. healthy expressions of their DNAs given climactic local adaptations of this biome, of this farm's biome, if we can actually heal these sheep instead of having to call them. And so simply that this test is to see if killing, right, sick animals due to a previous mismanagement of them is even needed. And so we hope the final solution here is a flock of sheep that is expressly healthy, amazingly adapted to this local environment, lives great lives of abundance inside and outside of their own bodies and own environment. We'll see. I don't know if it's possible. Clearly these sheep look decent. They don't look amazing. But we haven't had to kill any of them. And so what we're seeing here is that we're slowly, the early indicators, the feedback loop that we're getting every single day from managing these animals as holistically as possible, is that a good majority of them are healing. They are getting healthier. We're starting to see their coats thicken. We're starting to see their eyes deepen. We're starting to see their rumens expand. We're starting to see happiness occupy a flock that was somewhat depressing in the beginning. And we're achieving that through management, not calling. If it's possible, we'll see. If we can spare lives of animals lives that we've ruined in the past, if it's really our fault, then ethical management not only can save lives, but we can also heal, right, the mistakes of our past through making good decisions in the future. So this hopefully is a system of hope. But you can see the different mineral bins here. So that's calcium. This is copper. And we can keep going, but that's potassium, This is magnesium, phosphorus, this is sulfur. If you look between these two, and people often say, I don't believe that animals can self-medicate, like look at the difference. This one is literally licked clean. This is a yellow mineral blend. It's yellow so that you don't get it, and you know you're not to get it in your eye. Sulfur will cause some irritation. But come on, right?
The animals know.
They took this one and they didn't even touch, this doesn't even have an imprint of a tongue in it.
Self-medicate, the animals know what they need.
Absolutely, and this is zinc. You can see it hasn't even been touched, it's fresh. This is selenium, you can see some indentations here. They're taking it, but they're taking it very slowly. This is a mixture of kelp and some other things. I'm trying to get them to take it. Kelp really is a tasty substance, as most people know, for animals.
It smells good too.
Doesn't it smell good?
I love the smell.
They're not really taking much of that. This is iodine. Very, very minimal amounts are taken of iodine. This is rock salt. You can see some of the kelp has kind of got in it. But they were taking it slowly. And then this is the kelp I just put in this morning, which, they love. So that's the mineral program. They see what the soil's missing. They self-medicate. What we are doing here is different from traditional conservation or even mainstream regenerative agricultural practices. Really, Timshel's Wildland project is the eradication of practice itself. The vision behind our Wildland project is not to farm in nature's image. It's not to recreate natural abundance through highlighting an individual species' unique genius. Our mission is not to recreate or to coexist, but to co-create a more beautiful world by stepping back and losing some control, in order to capture the rich abundance that only wild and free emergence can bring.